Hello, welcome to the EP7 podcast. You are here with Rachel Donovan and the founder of EP7, Mr. George Helou.
Thanks, Rachel, and thank you for joining us. We love talking about how to get the heart into everything we do to get a lot out of life.
Whether it be relationships, business, careers, you name it. So, let's get started. Before we went on air, I was actually discussing with George about something that happened to me this week. And I thought it would be really a great topic to sort of explore further with you guys, because I think it's something, a fairly common thread that happens in relationships. Wouldn't you agree, George?
Yes, indeed.
And I was faced with a person that had betrayed me, and I had to work in a professional way with them. And I was really, really struggling. And I'd been doing so, though before this, I'd been working with them and just getting on with it in the past sort of few weeks. And it wasn't really an issue, even though in the back of my mind I thought it was, but it wasn't really something that I was letting get in my way. And sort of having that separation from it and then getting back to it, I just sort of became really, really in tune with how upset I was about the whole situation, about the betrayal. And I had a real physical reaction. Like, I felt sick in the stomach. I felt really sad. And I realized that I guess I probably hadn't really acknowledged the fact that I was really sad about it. I just sort of pushed it away and was angry and all the rest of it. And I just think it's a really common thing, that feeling of betrayal. And you can just feel so sad and so heavy and scared. Like, I kind of felt myself sort of shrinking away because I felt, vulnerable. I felt exposed. I can't trust anyone, or who am I going to trust again? Who's going to do it next? And it's a really, really awful place to be in. And I know so many friends and family members, I don't think anyone hasn't experienced it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it's, George, I just think it's something that everyone could really use some help in these sort of situations.
Yeah. So you're saying when you're feeling like that, when you're feeling that vulnerable and you just feel like you don't know who to trust, you just have to pull back and protect yourself. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay. And you're thinking to yourself, well, what do you do in that situation? Because obviously you don't want to be in that situation. You want to be engaged. You want to connect with people, but you've now been shocked by going back into that same environment that you were desensitized by previously, where the betrayal had happened. You learned to somehow cope with it by just shutting it out.
Yeah.
And then by being away long enough, when you got back, you were sensitive again to it, and it shocked you, it ambushed you.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think it was an alarm bell that I hadn't really dealt with it, because I think being angry about it and being, that anger can really be a front, and it's easy to be angry. But when you let that go, there's some grieving or some sadness that's underlying that hasn't been dealt with.
So would you say that you didn't deal with it because you didn't actually speak up for yourself and let the person know that you were betrayed and that wasn't good enough, and you're disappointed or upset by that? Did that happen?
No, I wouldn't say I had that conversation.
Okay. You see, already we're now understanding that suppressing what affects us is going to, in some way, get in the way of us being able to move on and connect and feel good about what we're doing. So whether it was you going back and being shocked by that, or whether you were just going to continue to be triggered by anything remotely looking like that, can you see the problem? Like, we're suppressing what we should be addressing. I love it when I rhyme like that. It's just awesome.
I do too. Have you said that one before, though? Is this like a one you just pull out of the bag? Or
no, that just popped. That was a new one. Fresh
off the press.
Fresh off the...
You heard it here first.
Yeah, that's right. So, you know what? If you think about, I wrote a blog article recently that I just shared with you before we got on air about if a tree could talk, right? I honestly think that we have to, at some point, decide what the trunk of our tree, of ourselves is. Because if you look at a tree, it can't grow very high without a solid trunk to support the weight and the flex of those branches. Because there's going to be a lot of weight at the top. And with deep roots, fair enough, it's stable, it can hold it, but you need a thick trunk too. Otherwise, it will just bend too far and snap. So for us, what is our trunk? And when someone betrays you, and you don't find out whether they really did betray you and you've misinterpreted, because sometimes it's possible that they didn't really betray you, but you thought they did. So then you get to live the trauma of that and never confront it and always feel it moving forward. However, say in this situation you actually were betrayed, right? And from what you've told me, I believe you were actually, right? Yeah. So if you're betrayed and then you want to let the person know that what they did and how they treated you was wrong. And if they want to deny it, you've equipped yourself with the ability to say, you're lying to me again, which is just more betrayal. I'm drawing the line there. My trunk, that's where I'm solid. In other words, if you're going to try to bend me in that way, you're going to hit something very solid so that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So if you're going to lie and try to deceive me, and then when I try to say to you, I don't like it, you're going to try to deceive me even more, then I'm going to go, I'm not talking to you anymore. No, I'm not interested in what you have to say. Now, isn't that a solid rebuttal? Isn't that
very solid?
A stiff hand to say enough? No, I don't want to hear any more words coming out of your mouth. I don't even care if you're now speaking the truth. You've pushed me too far.
Yeah.
We need to have that part of us existing. Otherwise, the most treacherous, narcissistic, sociopathic people, not because not because deep down they're like that, but because they've been conditioned to feel like that's the only way to be. You will be the most defenseless against those sorts of people. So build your trunk. Put people on notice. Don't be afraid to walk away. And maybe be wrong. See, this is one thing that really is interesting when it comes to those that lie to you. And then when you try to catch the lie, they've thrown in a bit of truth, and then they try to make you feel guilty because you thought they were lying about something that was a bit true. And they try to
like distracting or something.
They try to distract you, right, with lots of smoke and fire, away from the fact that they've lied to you 99 times, but because they can prove to you that one time amongst the 99 they were telling the truth, apparently you're now the one that's the problem.
Yeah.
Oh, come on,
man. The danger in this, I feel like, is of not crossing over, though, into that world of, while you're standing your ground, which is obviously what you need to do, as what you just said, is not becoming like aggressive or angry either, because I felt that was a trap. Like, I didn't want to confront someone if I felt that I was going to I grew up judging anger. Anyone that was angry, I associated it to, that will lead to violence. So I immediately judged anger, not just in them, but in me. I suppressed my own anger. Yeah.
And I'm hearing that in you right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think I grew up thinking or saying that if you fought with someone or you confronted something, that was bad. Like, that was bad, avoid.
Yeah.
And so I've really struggled, or had to learn how to confront, how to, and I'm definitely a lot better thanks to you than I ever was.
Well, being assertive works most of the time. But sometimes we have to visit anger, but in a controlled manner. And I think that controlled anger can therefore be applied
What's controlled anger?
Controlled anger is when you're feeling angry, and you have this ability to let the person know that you're angry, and you're able to explain why you're angry.
Okay.
That's controlled anger. Mm-hmm. Uncontrollable anger is when you're just angry and you're lashing out. So you're just basically vomiting how you feel onto them.
Yeah.
So controlled anger sounds like this. I am so angry with you right now because I have tried several times to reach out to you and be sincere and genuine. And every single time you've chosen to not connect with how genuine I'm being, and you've chosen to lie to me. Do you know how angry that makes me feel? I am so angry right now. I just need space. I don't want to be around you anymore. That's controlled anger.
Wow.
That is the trunk of your tree. Can you see the role that anger can play?
Oh, absolutely.
Anger is a beautiful form of controlled aggression that says, you are trying to violate my emotional well-being, and I'm not going to let you.
And I was about to say that, and I won't let you.
And I'm going to push back. No, I'm not interested. So going back to when you're betrayed, why do you feel the need to hold it as if you have to contort and play the game of the only game you've got is being passive aggressive? In other words, holding your anger to yourself quietly, avoiding them, coping through maybe a little bit of undermining. Like, you see what I mean? It doesn't. It's the same part of the problem. You know what? I honestly think that it is enjoyable to let the person know you see straight through them. You believe that they could be better, but they're choosing not to. You are angry because they chose to lie to you more than once. You feel betrayed because they were trying to lead you down the path of thinking one thing when it was the other. And therefore, you no longer are going to trust them, and you need space. And if you're going to trust them ever again, it'll have to be down the track when you're in a better space to give them another chance, but you're not sure when that time will come. In other words, reserve the right when you will give them another chance. They don't deserve you to need to know when that's going to happen. Now, of course, it's in the context of how bad they treated you, right?
Yeah.
So it's back to your common sense, your intuition. But I'm just trying to play out a scenario where if it was that bad, the betrayal, you don't owe them anything. The only thing you owe them is don't resort to violence.
Yeah.
And that walking away and letting them know why you're walking away helps them realize that you're not abandoning them. You're abandoning the version they insist on being, right to the very death of your efforts. The trunk of the tree. Grow it, because the more your tree trunk gets wider and solid, metaphorically, I don't want to freak you guys out saying get fat, get a barrel body. Not so attractive. But the wider it gets, imagine an oak tree. Imagine how much you can grow to high levels of thinking and engaging possibilities and expanding the branch of your vision to connect with people in such an enriching way. How can you do that if you don't have a base of dignity that will not negotiate on your principles? How are you going to do that? If people come along and they invite you to be a doormat, you go, oh, no, thanks. And if they try to manipulate you and then you're giving them the benefit of the doubt and then you find out they tricked you into being taken advantage of, then you have a right to push back and be angry. In other words, there's your dignity. Do you think that what I've shared with you right now gives you enough context around how to be in that situation so that you're not caught in that betrayal, feeling like your only option is to suppress it and, just suffer?
Yeah, I do.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that's a really good approach to a conversation and how, yeah.
Cool. Well, anyone who wants to know about that article that I wrote, I guess you can just Google if a tree could talk. I think I know what it would say. Or just go to my blog, georgehelou.com, and do a search on there or something. But yeah, yeah. But there you go. It's the tree trunk is an important part of the tree.
Essential.
And if we were to relate it to our roots, like if you know you belong here in this world, and therefore your worthiness is intact, and therefore when someone criticizes you or you're not measuring up in some way to someone's ideals or society's ideals, you're not achieving to the level that apparently, ordains you with worthiness, then it means your roots are too shallow. Mm-hmm. And if you deepen your roots, in other words, I feel so secure and stable, I belong here. I mean, a tree knows its position in the garden. It knows its position. You can't budge it. It belongs there. But for us, with our insecurity, it's as if we've got very shallow roots. So we're so easily toppled over with a bit of criticism, a bit of a setback, oh my God, we can't, So when you deepen your roots and you belong, that worthiness, obviously that's the first foundation to then knowing that when someone wants to treat you as if you're worthless, the trunk then can also play the part of pushing back. But your worthiness is intimate to you. It's below the ground. It's your relationship with yourself. But where it plays out is how you then interact with your environment. And therefore, that's where your principles need to protect you when the invitation to compromise your principles happens.
Yeah.
So they play together really well. And look, and then obviously I'm talking about being solid and, but the branches have give, right? Like, so the tolerance and lenience and patience and compassion, that has to play a part, but we need to be balanced. Branches don't just bend to the end, they'll snap. Or they'll bend in all the crazy places that will where you don't want them to. So in other words, you can't have endless patience. Just have enough so that intuitively you feel like you've really given the person a chance to experience your love, your caring. But if they're going to take a mile and run further if you let them with your patience, you have to rein it in. Otherwise, you find yourself in a cyclone of drama and there'll be no leaves left on those branches.
So I'm a very visual person. So I'm really enjoying those visual images of the tree and the roots. And I love that.
I was joking in the blog about, gosh, you don't really need me as a coach. Like, I talk about, I'm coaching clients every day. I'm thinking, sheesh, if you just sat down and joined the dots of how a tree survives and thrives, I think you could pretty much get all the wisdom you need out of a tree. So I think I'm doing myself out of a job the more Oh, it's funny. But yeah.
Well, thanks, George.
It's been a pleasure sharing. So what's the theme of this one? I think we'll call it your tree. Your trunk of dignity. We'll work out a name. Cool. So
well, yeah. So I'm sure I would love to chat about this a bit more on Facebook. So jump onto our Facebook page and join in the conversation there, everybody. And we will see you next time on the AP7 podcast.
Yep. See you later.
See you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on another AP7 podcast. If you liked what you heard, remember to share and subscribe so you're notified of every podcast released. If you have any questions or would like to connect with us, please jump on the EP7 official Facebook page. We'd love to hear from you.